So, hello everyone. My name is Francisco Calatrava. I'm coming from Örebro University in Sweden. And well, the title of my work is Light Residual Network for Human Activity Recognition using wearable sensor data. So I guess I have to start this presentation to talk a little bit about why this human activity recognition is important. And well, in a very high level, this human activity recognition is about classifying and understanding human activities in general terms. And we know that by introducing this understanding, we can enhance many fields, like, for example, health, sport, security, or even human-robot interaction. So one clear example that I really like to mention always is health. Like, we can monitor the well-being, for example, of elderly people at home. But going a little bit more into the technical stuff and leaving this aside, this work is about classifying a set of human activities using inertial sensor data, okay? So we have as an input inertial sensor data that we need to pre-process, segment, extract some features that are interesting to us, and classify those features into a number of activities that normally are the activities that we want to study. In this work, we use the UCI-HAR dataset. That is the most cited dataset for this kind of problem. And well, I will mention the most important information of the pre-processing and segmentation, but they were already done. These were already done by the creators of this dataset. And I will center the major part of my presentation in the classification task. So going through the state of the art, in the part of the classification, I discovered that, okay, deep learning can surpass traditional machine learning methods in terms of, like, in this human activity recognition problem, but many of the solutions proposed, they were like giving very heavy models with a very high number of parameters, and that comes as well with an increase in the computational cost. On the other hand, when I was looking to this data set, this specific data set, it was really strange. They were proposing like very different ways to compare. So under this condition, it was really difficult to make a fair comparison. So basically what we are proposing here is a new light deep learning architecture for this classification task. And we are proposing as well for future comparisons, a unified benchmark for this UCI-HAR dataset. So let's talk a little bit about this dataset. This dataset contains inertial information from 30 participants that they were performing 6 activities. These activities that we can see here, while they were carrying a smartphone on their waist. So basically the inertial information is coming from the smartphone. These 30 participants were asked to perform an experiment that consists, okay, you have to do these activities in a specific order. So it's important to mention that this data set has been collected, in the control lab environment. So the pre-processing part, okay, they collected 6 inertial signals. They were acceleration in the 3-axis and angular velocity in the 3-axis. And basically they pre-processed this in order to, first of all, remove noise, and second, like, they were getting 3 new signals that they call body estimated acceleration by separating the gravity component from the acceleration signal. And they were doing this by applying some Butterworth filters and medium filters. So at the end of the story, at the end of this pre-processing part, we have 9 inertial signals that we need to segment in order to classify. And they were using this fixed width sliding windows approach with a window size of 128 points, that is 2.56 seconds, and an overlapping of 50%. So here it's important to mention that a unique activity is mapped to every sample. That means that we are not taking into account transitions between activities. So now that we are all a little bit more familiar with this data set, I would like to introduce my approach. So first of all, the input of my model is the inertial signals after pre-processing, segmentation, and normalization technique with min-max. So we have an input save of 9 windows of 128 points each. And well, the output is a multi-class multi-classification problem. So we have 6 classes that correspond with the 6 activities that we have discussed before, we have seen. So basically we have convolutional, like convolutional passback to normalization, ReLU and maxfill. And after we are going through 4 residual blocks, 1 residual block is defined there. And well, after this, we apply this average pooling in order to get kind of a flattened vector. And we map this feature space to 6 classes with a fully connected layer, and we apply the softmax in order to get the probabilities of the classification. So let's go a little bit more in the details of this architecture. It was inspired in the very well-known ResNet 18 model, and we have to do some changes. The changes that we did basically was, okay, the ResNet 18 used 2-dimensional kernels, so we changed to 1-dimensional kernels in order to accommodate the 1-dimensional nature of our inertial signals. And since our goal it was to try to propose something with less parameters, it was like, okay, let's try to reduce the number of residual blocks. And we trained different models with different number of residual blocks, and we saw that basically with 4 residual blocks, we had a peak of performance in terms of F1 score. And it was just the moment in which the number of parameters was increasing like more kind of exponentially. So it was a good point to stop. And as a result, we reduced the number of parameters to 234,950 parameters. If we compare with ResNet 18, that's around 11 million. I think it's a great reduction. So yes, now let's talk about the results. So first of all, what we did basically was, okay, let's take the original splitting conditions from the UCI-HAR dataset. So we went through the original paper of the UCI-HAR dataset, and we took these specific conditions, and we were comparing our work in the last 4 or 5 years, state of the art, that they were using deep learning, and they were clearly stating that, okay, we are using these conditions. So in general term, we can see that our proposed model outperforms pretty state of the art. And well, going to the last part, that is more recent work from 2023, we can see that the improvement is 0.1 in terms of F1 score. But if we look at the number of parameters as well, it's the reduction by a factor of 15. And one thing that I forgot about this part is to explain what is the 70-30%. So we were using 70% of the participants, so 21 participants for training, and 30% of the participants for testing. Additionally, or in addition to this result, we were proposing as well to use, in order to validate a little bit more, this leave one person out cross validation that consists on systematically in each experiment to leave one person, a distinct person, for testing purposes, while taking the 29 for training, basically. So we had to run 30 experiments, and here we can see the confusion matrix. That is the sum of each confusion matrix. So according to previous results, the main problem that we were having was between seeking and expanding activities. There was confusion there, but I guess that is normal. I think it's because both of them, they are very static, how to say, activities, and they are very similar. So that result were consistent with previous theory. But what was interesting about this approach as well, it was like, okay, let's see. I'm going to show you. Let's see here, like we have walking and walking upstairs, and we are having like 3.5% of confusion rate. I was like, okay, doesn't seem that much, but let's look a little bit more deep into this, and it seems that the 59 samples over the 60 that were misclassified were coming from the same participant. So, like this, we can try to analyze a little bit more what is happening with in a more fine-grained way. And well, I'm providing all these additional results in a public way in my GitHub for the leave one out cross validation. We are proposing this table that, well, we are giving this table with the precision, recall, and F1 score average for each experiment over the 6 classes. We are providing as well the 30 confusion matrices for each experiment. We are doing as well this table that is per person and per class. And additionally to this, we are offering a tenfold cross validation based on the number of participants. So we have 30 participants, and we divide this into 10 folds, and we use for testing and training. And well, the results for the comparison with the previous state of the art are on the paper. And yeah, thank you very much for the presentation. Thank you very much.